Is it okay if I walk around? Okay. Okay. Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. My name is Lori Smith, and I will be presenting today about how trauma affects students. And so, just a little bit of background. I was born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri. I've been doing social work practicing for about 20 years. And I enjoy just working with at-risk populations, working with students. I just want to applaud you all just for being educators. I mean, I'm so happy to see like a whole room full of educators and you guys just excited and go out there and educate and take care of our students. But I want to talk about too how I want you all to take care of yourselves as well, because we need you all, okay? We really need you. We have a shortage in the district, and just want to make sure that you all have all the resources that you need. So my 9 to 5, I'm a police social worker for the school district. My 5 to 9, I'm a life coach. I have a life coaching firm, and I focus on the age group 15 to 30. And so just being a social worker for the years that I've been practicing, sometimes events happen. And unless that traumatic event has caused certain feelings and emotions and behaviors that prevent you from being your true and authentic self. So if an event happens, you're not talking and socializing like you used to do, you're not eating, you're not sleeping, and so that starts turning into more of a traumatic event because it's taking you away of your daily activities. And so in mental health, we look at different diagnoses like anxiety and depression. How is that diagnosis affecting your daily activity? And so when we look at trauma and how it affects students, we have to look at well, first of all, let me say this. Being with educators, I know you all have objectives. I just want to be professional and kind of have everything in line because I know you're all like, wait, we're supposed to talk about this, this, and this. So I'm trying to be decent and in order just so you all know what the objectives are and what you're going to learn at the end. So today you're going to learn about trauma and how it impacts students and their social skills. At the end of the day, you'll be able to define trauma and identify strategies to support students exposed to those traumatic events. You'll be able to identify the types of traumatic events and know the signs that a student possibly could have been exposed to some type of trauma and exhibiting some type of traumatic stress. How it impacts the students, and how you can actually help. And now it's funny, just being a social worker for the school district, I was at a high school and I taught social emotional learning. And I would kind of talk to the teachers, you know, not trying to tell teachers what to do or how to run their classroom, but just say, hey, here's a student, this is kind of what's going on. Here are some different types of recommendations that I can share so the student can be successful and you're able to teach. And the response was, I'm not a therapist, I'm an educator. So anyway, but this is just different cues, different ideas like, I think there may be something going on. So I'm going to give you that information and then what to do once you have that information after working with some of your students. And number 5 should be number 1. I want you all to stay healthy. And that word burnout drives me crazy. I hate that word. But I want you all to stay healthy because you all are going to affect so many lives, indirectly and directly, and you won't even know it. How many of you all, let's see, by the show of hands, K through 5 educators? Nice. Okay. What about the middle school? God bless you all. Middle school. What about high school? Okay. High school, I love high school students. You know, their level of thinking is interesting. I mean, at least we can sort of communicate with them, get ideas, and kind of see what they're thinking with a lot of work, communication, interaction. But yes, so I want you all to stay healthy. And so what is trauma? It's a circumstance that results in physical harm, emotional harm, or life-threatening harm. It could be indirectly or directly. So I stopped watching the news, and when I did turn the news on, there was a tragedy that happened in an apartment complex, drive-by shooting. A student was fatally shot in the head, sibling shot in the ankle. And just that traumatic event, the surviving sibling, that was secondary trauma. You know, just like what happened? And even like the students that are in the complex, the parents, that one event just sent a ripple effect through that community and through that neighborhood. And so that's trauma. Now, I had another student to say, well, you can't tell me what trauma is because I wanted the iPhone 14. I was like, that's not actually trauma. However, again, high school students, mental health, they were able, this is so funny, not funny, but interesting. They were able to look at this and say it does have an adverse effect on my mental health, my physical health, and my emotional well-being, because I can't take pictures and I can't do the filters so I can look beautiful like everyone else. Okay, so they were upset, skipping class, cutting up in school, so I said, you know what, let's do this. What about you're 16, let's talk to your parents about you getting a job, and maybe they'll get you that iPhone 14, and you know, so high school students, we have to be creative with working with them. You get a job, I'll help you look for a job, do the application online, whatever you need to do, and so then you won't have this trauma that you enforced on yourself. But it was their parents' fault. So just get ready for high school. Just, you know, just a little snippet. So that's trauma. Types of trauma: out-of-home placement, natural disasters, bullying, and the domestic violence. We have students that are physically aggressive toward their parents. That's domestic violence. We have, you know, parent-on-parent domestic violence. We have child abuse. And so these are different types of trauma, lack of income, lack of housing. When we look at protective factors and risk factors, the protective factors are, you know, having those resources that you need to be successful, like food, shelter, clothing, water, support. Those are, having those things are protective factors. Risk factors: on Friday, the weekend, I'm not at school, there's no food at home, mom's boyfriend comes over, he's very abusive. And so things like that are types of trauma that our students go through either over the weekend or during the week, and then they come in our classroom, you guys' classroom, and we want them to learn. So it could be quite difficult, but just know that the traumas exist and what it is, and then the signs. So some students, there may be changing eating and sleeping habits. It may be a change to where they're more fearful, or you know, they're sitting off to themselves. They don't really want to communicate, or they're angry with everybody. Everything I say something to you, I don't feel like doing it. I'm throwing, you know, having tantrums and yelling and screaming, and just they're expressing their emotions of a traumatic event because they don't have the language. So our students don't have the language, but they behave like adults sometimes with some of the language, some of their behavior, but then they're not able to express that emotion that they're feeling to say, hey, this is what's going on with me and I need some help. They don't know. The way that I've experienced how they reach out for help is yelling and screaming, having detention, getting suspended, having RPC meetings, coming to see the social worker. But when that happens, at least they can get the support that they need. But just know that emotions can be experienced in different degrees of intensity. So even when students are fearful, they're still being aggressive. And so if I can keep the attention off of me and how I'm really feeling, because she's looking sad, but she's yelling and screaming and cussing at everybody, well, something is going on. So it's just different signs to look for when they start sitting by themselves. Just different things to look for to say, hey, maybe there is something else going on. And the way trauma impacts students is just like this guy up in the top. Poor self-regulation. They solve problems differently than the way we would. So there's a spider on the wall. Some of us may get a tissue, or some people may grab the spider in the hand and take it outside so it could live and go free. But this guy, he's like, I'm gonna tear this whole wall down until I get the spider. It's gone, but he had a different way of problem solving with this situation, and just having poor self-regulation. I'm gonna tear it all down until I feel okay. And that's the way trauma impacts certain students and certain people. Relationship challenges. So when we look at protective factors and we look at risk factors, the students that don't have the adults in their lives that are protecting them, that are nurturing them, that are even talking to them, when they come into our classrooms, you're a reflection of an adult, so why should I trust you? Why should I trust you if you don't know my name? Why should I trust you that I really don't feel good, I'm laying my head down, but you're yelling at me because you want me to do work? Why should I trust you? So just know there'll be some relationship challenges, and even relationship challenges when it comes to their peers. They may just want to beat up everybody in the classroom because they need to let that emotion out, because I'm being beat up by my brother or my sister or whomever, but I just want to get that out so I can feel in control and have power. And so hypervigilance, just always thinking something bad is going to happen, just something is going to happen, not, fight or flight, all day long, Monday through Friday, something is going to go on, and just know that that trauma is impacting that student. So sitting in your classroom, they could just be going through that scenario, what happened the night before, and you may just say, hey, so what did you do this weekend? And they just might go off the deep end, because they just don't know how to handle that trauma in their bodies, and they don't know how to express it. And so they're focusing on the negative outcomes of it. And poor executive functioning, I'm gonna talk a little bit further to where we can kind of help those students with setting up a schedule and making everything predictable. So the way you guys can help is try to focus on the positive. Catch them doing good. Hunt around, just walking around the classroom, hey, you put your pencil down nicely, whatever you do to help celebrate their accomplishments, just to keep your room and your classroom in order. Create a physical and psychological safe space. Elementary schools, I love elementary schools, always have snacks at the front door, in all of the classrooms, different snacks, and there's always a schedule. When is recess? When is the potty break? When we're gonna have circle time to talk about the weather for the day, the time and things like that. Always predictable, because when they go home, they may not have a schedule. It may be mass chaos and confusion until the next morning when they're coming back into your classroom. But they know when I walk into the classroom, Ms. Ramirez is gonna have all this lined up, and I know what's gonna happen. And they feel safe when they know that there's a schedule and things are predictable, so it won't catch them off guard. Because when they're at home, they don't know what's gonna happen. And so just making sure that that schedule is consistent and communicate classroom, I expect this from you, so what's kind of going on? And emphasize and show sensitivity, and just know, like in high school or middle school, different topics may trigger different emotions. And when you see that, when you gain the relationship with your students, just kind of say, hey, we were talking, and I noticed, you kind of shifted, in such a way that was this upsetting to you. And just know, trust and believe, when you all start working with your students, you know their names, you're familiar with them, they trust you, they're gonna share so much information that is gonna blow your mind. It may scare you, but that's why when it gets like too intense, just watch your boundaries. And if it's way above your pay grade or way above, like this is too much, your emotional capacity, and if they're thinking about death by suicide or hurting someone else, reach out to your school social worker, your counselor, or your psychologist, and then they can do further assessment And then once an assessment done, they can further support you in your classroom to make sure that you're able to teach and the student is able to learn. And so, so when I was talking about structure, the respect agreement. So if that could be done when school starts in August, and like high school, do it for each period, first period through fifth period, the respect agreement. The respect agreement is almost like a big poster board, and you put whatever, if they want to say whatever the name of their class is going to be for that period, put the name of your class in the middle, and then talk about how is the teacher going to respect the student? How is the student going to respect the teacher? How are the students going to respect their peers? And write it all down. When the teacher is talking, I'm going to be quiet. When the teacher is talking, I'm going to put my phone away. When we're in class, I'm not going to do TikTok videos and I'm in the 5th grade. I'm not going to do that because it's on our respect agreement. I'm not going to take my friend's pencil or ink pen because I didn't bring one. It's on the respect agreement. So if they break that respect agreement, like, hey, oh, and the other thing, make sure everybody puts their John Hancock on the respect agreement. So it's like, hey, and have everybody agree upon the respect agreement. So when an infraction happens, well, hey, that's not how we treat each other in our classroom because you agreed to this, you created this, so what's going on? And so the respect agreement is common language. We know how to treat each other in our classroom, accountability, and it creates unity within the classroom. And so that nasty word burnout, place your oxygen mask on before breathing life into your students. So when you're having a stressful day, a stressful week, make sure that you have healthy support systems. Ask for help. Set boundaries because you can take some of the situations that are going on. It's called vicarious trauma. So some of the things that our students go through and we hear about it and we learn about it, we could be traumatized too. When they start sharing their stories, because you all seem like a good group of people, and they know they can trust you, just make sure you set those boundaries and those limits, and just make sure that you reach out to the mental health team on campus and just make sure they get what they need. However, I want to make sure that you all get what you need too. So the school district, we have EAP services. So just reaching out to the EAP, and it's my hope that you all have teacher mentors. Is that right? Have teacher mentors. And just, talk with your mentors. And even when you're on your campus, just getting to know people and get a good support. Now, listen, don't get with those people that like to admire the problem and want to complain. We don't have supplies. I don't feel supported. I don't have this. I don't have that. But you guys are young people, so I know you guys are pretty resourceful. And just try to, get with people that are like-minded, and the people that want to complain and admire the problem, please run as fast as you can, and don't look back, and just say, hey, I'm good, and with you all going into education, everybody's going to have a whole bunch of ideas, but it may not be your idea or how you operate or how you want to run your classroom. If need be, go to life coaching, not a PSA, but go to a life coach, go to a therapist just to help you process whatever situations that are going on. And I will say, just being a licensed social worker, when we had the October 1 shooting, I'm a part of the crisis response team. So we had to go down and kind of support, the events that were going on, make sure everybody had what they need. And so when we were debriefing, we had UNLV professors to come to our social work department, and they strongly told us to go for therapy. And I was like, I'm a therapist. Why do I need to go? What are they going to tell me? So in my mind, I'm thinking I don't need to go to that, and they kept saying, hey, did you go? Well, no, I'm going to go. And then when I went, it was fabulous, absolutely fabulous, just because the whole preface was, I know you're a therapist, all the different cycles of counseling and, all these things. She said, let's just have a conversation. It it was 2 hours. And it was wonderful. So I'm just saying, get with like-minded people that are listening. Like my husband, it's like, can you believe what happened? I got sleeping bags in my car. I got this in my car. You know, I always have stuff in the car because I never know what's going to happen or who I'm going to see. They don't want to hear that. My kids don't want to hear that. So just make sure you have that support system and show yourself some grace, please. Please, that's all I'm asking. We are not perfect. We can only do what we can. We can only support those who want our support. And just know you can make an impression on the children and the students. They're not going to tell you, but trust and believe, I promise you that you all are going to have 5 to 12 young people to say, hey, remember when you said this? You know, just like with my academic advisor in high school who told me I wasn't going to be anything. You know, my dad worked for IBM. Like, you might as well be a blue-collar worker. You might as well work at Sears because you're not going to be anything because the crowds you're hanging around. I was like, huh. So I did get in trouble that day. I did have detention. I was on punishment. But I was just excited that I made her out of a lie. You know, you're going to have kids. You're going to be in low-income housing. You know, in St. Louis, the low-income housing was facing the Mississippi River. And so if you had low-income housing on a good level of the high rise, you can see the Mississippi River, you can see the arch. But I mean, the environment wasn't nice. And so she just spoke all this negative stuff on me. And then when my aunt passed, I saw Patricia Perriman. If y'all had social media, y'all should send her all kind of just crazy stuff to her social media page. You know, no viruses, just kind of spam stuff, you know. Grow your hair, lose weight, send her stuff like that. But I saw Miss Perriman at my aunt's wedding. And you know how when you go to funerals, stand in line, you got to sign the book? Miss Perriman was standing right there. I couldn't wait to jog up next to her. I was like, hey, Miss Perriman. And she kind of looked and rolled her eyes. And I said, how's it going? She said, good, how are you? And I was like, well, I said, I'm married. My son is 5 months old. I got my undergrad from St. Louis U, psychology, sociology, and I'm working on my master's. She said, oh, that's good. Rolled her eyes and moved. But I tell you what, I was really excited that I was able to let her know. So just that story, just know, my grandmother used to always say, life and death is in the power of the tongue. So you can edify a student with the words that you say, or you can crush them with the words that you say. And just know they're like open books, just looking for, almost like a flower looking for water. Just like you make a huge impression on them, because if they're not getting that at home, they're going to try to get it from school, come hell or high water. They're either going to make your classroom a living hell to where, look at me, look at me, look at me, or they're going to say, hey, I need some help. Some kind of way. Just like I want you all, just like I went to the therapist, I don't need a therapist. I was on guard too. You know, I was like, I'm going to walk in there. I know what she's going to say. How's your family? What is your childhood like? I knew all that, and I was ready for her. But we didn't even talk about that. So anyway, but just, again, get the support that you need and decompress at the end of the day, because trust and believe they're going to be looking for you all in the morning when you all come and open that door. So here's some more resources. The Child Trauma Toolkit for Educators. If you all click on that, you can download it to your drive. And then SAMHSA, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administrators, it'll give you like more details of what trauma looks like. I only had 30 minutes, so I really couldn't get into all that. And again, contact your school counselor, psychologist, social worker, or other mental health professional if you're like, some of these students are exhibiting those characteristics of trauma, and I want them to get the support that they need, and I want to be able to teach at the same time. And then even if you all need support too, just, you know, reaching out to EAP and just, you know, going in the community, just to, and even going to therapy, what I've learned is just processing information, just processing it and getting a different perspective. This is just a little PSA. Like and subscribe. Follow me on Youth Success Coaching. And just, so over COVID, I did a cooking show, only because my kids talked me into it. eating healthy. It's called Cooking with the Coach, and just eating healthy and having mental toughness. And I do a lot of work in the community with different nonprofits, just trying to teach students social and emotional learning and education. And then that's my website. And again, just doing life coaching with ages 15 to 30 and just processing. Again, I had a lot of college students over COVID. I had a student, and all they had to do was their last research paper, and they weren't going to turn it in. And I was like, you're right here, you're right at the door. So I kind of like panicked, like, you got it. And I was like, you know what? I said, what if you just do it and we just figure out later? Because all they were thinking about, what if I can't find a job? You know, I think it's 5 months after you graduate, you have to start paying your student loans, 5 or 6 months. And so they were panicking over that. And am I going to move back to my hometown? I was like, well, let's kind of turn that paper in since you came this far. Just go across the threshold, turn it in, and then let's start talking about working in a school district to where they forgive your loans, looking at the loan forgiveness opportunities, just looking at where do you want to live, where do you want to work, and just looking at different alternatives instead of looking at everything being negative and bad and like, oh my goodness. So that's it. 30 minutes. 11:59. That's pretty good. So do you all have any questions? Any questions? Any concerns? We're the high school teachers. High school. Have you been assigned to your school yet?
Yeah, I'm at Silverado High School.
Nice. That's my school.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I love that place.
Yeah. So I have Region 3. Yeah. So that's my 9 to 5, and then I'm life coaching. Yeah. So, okay. What is your biggest success? Your biggest success. Come on, guys. Come on. Yes.
I'm a first-generation high school graduate.
Yes.
I was also student body president, so I gave a speech at my graduation.
Congratulations. Yes. Wait, let me put my cane down. Yes. So celebrate even when you start your day in your classroom. Let's talk about celebrate success. What are some of the challenges? Now, some people may get mad if you have that one student, everything's always good. This happened to me. I won the lottery. I got this. They picked my name. And then you have those other kids, nothing good ever happens. Well, what do you want to see happen? What do you have control over? Talk about locus of control. What do you have control over to be successful? So I'm excited for all of you all. Excited. So hopefully I may see you guys in the schools, Region 3 area, maybe, or not. All right, you all have a good rest of your day. Thank you.